You've tuned into Books, Business, and Beyond, the show that teaches you how to maximize your income from your book to create the lifestyle you want. Now here's your host, the best-selling author who loves sunsets and traveling around the world, Shelley Hitz, and her partner in success, Kristen Eckstein.
Welcome back to another episode of Books, Business, and Beyond. I'm Shelley, your co-host, and I'm joined with Kristen Joy. And Kristen, how is your week going so far?
Oh, busy.
I was talking to a friend recently. He's like, you need to say productive.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Business is thriving.
It is,
but yes,
in a good way. Yeah, let's see. We actually, those of you who don't know this, we do pre-record these episodes. And just a hint for business productivity, when you have to do something like write a bunch of blog posts or write a bunch of emails, which actually we're going to talk about more of today, and record a bunch of podcast episodes, depending on how long your voice can hold out if you're doing something vocal, because mine's about shot now. But batching is awesome. I batch write. I'll sit down and write 4 or 5 articles in one sitting and then schedule them out on my blog or send them to guest posts or things like that. Same thing. That's what we do with podcasts. So when Shelley throws a curveball at me of, so how has your week been? I'm thinking, my week now or my week as I project it to be when this episode is aired? Because I'm pretty sure when this episode is aired, it will be right after NAMS and I will be in full recovery mode.
I know. I'm looking forward to NAMS as well. This episode, we're going to be talking about selling more stuff with email. That includes your books, your products, your services, and so forth. And email marketing is so powerful. It's my number one book marketing tip that I always share with authors. And authors tend to be more hesitant to really dive in and go 110% with email marketing. Why do you think that is, Kristen?
Well, email marketing is writing. It just makes sense for writers to write.
I know. And it's something that, authors tend to be good at, but it just seems like a lot of authors are hesitant to really get into it. And my theory is that because it costs a monthly fee.
Well, yeah, it depends on what system you use, but I'm a big believer in using a system you can grow with or grow into. Because I've been with systems like Constant Contact, which is a paid one, but they have a free trial. And it's a low dollar paid system. And that when I had to move my list and I moved it over to Aweber, I had a list of 800 people and I lost 500 of them just because of having to move systems and having to make them re-sign up again. And most of them didn't want to. And not that they necessarily even didn't want to, maybe they didn't get the memo, that can happen too. So if you're going to grow an email list, which I highly recommend that you do, it is one of the number one ways to market yourself, your business, and your book. You need to look at the system. And there's 3 primary systems that I personally recommend that you check out. And one is MailChimp. It's MailChimp.com. You can grow into that one. And one is Constant Contact, which I sort of recommend only because they eliminated opt-in forms on your website. Now you have to buy an additional plugin, which is a paid plugin in order to embed a form on your website. I just discovered this. This is brand new.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really stupid. Why don't they? They're charging a monthly fee. Why don't they let you embed a thing on your website? And then Aweber, which is one of the most powerful. The only issue with Aweber is that if you have someone try and subscribe with an email address like info@domain.com or contact@ or a generic one like that, it won't let them. So a lot of businesses, if you're in business to business or your book reaches business owners who use emails like that, like I use news@thebookninja.com to field all my newsletters I subscribe to, it won't accept that anymore. It has to be more like a real person's name in order to accept it. And that's also a relatively new development that is really making a lot of people who use Aweber mad. So there's a lot of different options for authors.
Personally, I use GetResponse for ShelleyHitz.com, and that's my new brand author audience. And GetResponse is very similar to Aweber, has a lot of the same features, but it's cheaper. And so
I checked them out. And when I checked them out, they had they hadn't gotten hacked. It was something else with their servers. And for like 2 weeks, they couldn't send email. And I was like, no, I can't do this.
Yeah, that would be a problem. I haven't had any problems and I haven't heard of any problems, but that's what I'm currently using for that site. And previously, I have also used Aweber and highly recommend them. They have really good support. You can always get in touch with them on phone if you really want someone to have, that you can call. GetResponse has good support as well. And then I also use a company if you just want to keep cost low and you just need the basics of autoresponders and broadcasts. I also use Traffic Wave, which is only $17.95 a month, and it stays $17.95 even if you have 100,000 subscribers. So, those are a few different options. One of the things I don't like about MailChimp, I was helping a client recently set up MailChimp, and I didn't know this, but with a free account, you cannot set up any autoresponders. You can only set up the very first thank you autoresponder. So you can give them a free gift, but you can't set up your ongoing autoresponders, which to me, that is the power of the email list.
Right.
And so that's why I just tend to not recommend MailChimp to many authors, just because you will not have the advantage of setting up an autoresponder. But if you have no budget and you're not going to do an email list unless you can do something free, then yeah, definitely use MailChimp.
Yeah, and I'm looking up, actually, you might hear me clicking, I'm looking up their pricing right now. And Entrepreneur is up to 2,000 subscribers, which is fine for most people, most authors. And I'm trying to look up their actual pricing.
Yeah, I've researched it before, and it's very similar to Aweber. Once you have over 2,000 subscribers, then you start paying. And so it does start to be very similar in price to something like Aweber.
Yeah, it's just finding their pricing when you click pricing is not easy, and I don't like that.
Yeah, but the whole point is we really, really encourage you. I mean, it was one of the best investments I made in my business as an author, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, is to invest in an email system. And like Kristen said, one that you can grow with, one that, has all the features that you want. And all of them have great features. I know MailChimp has a ton in their paid version. They have a ton of automation features, just like GetResponse and Aweber. So, you just have to, do a little research and find out what works best for you. And I know I was recently doing some research, and there was nothing that was just like everything was perfect,
There's pros and cons to all of that.
Yeah, so, and you just finally have to pick one.
There's people who write blog posts comparing all the features side by side. So do a Google search on that when you're first looking at a system, because really the bottom line is, you have a lot of different ways to build your list. You can build it through Facebook groups and pages on Facebook. You can have a LinkedIn group. You can have an RSS feed on your blog that people subscribe to. But ultimately, the only way to reach people that you control yourself, that's not controlled by another company, not controlled by another server that can do with it what they wish. Like Facebook can stop groups at any time. I hope they don't, but they can. And the only way you can avoid that is to have your own email list system that you invest your time in building that list.
Yes, and it's like it's the same concept as renting versus owning a home. My husband and I currently rent, and last year we were told last minute it was 2 years ago. We were told last minute by our landlord that we had to get out, and we had less than a month. And it was like we were scrambling. It was very stressful. But when you own, that is your home. No one can kick you out.
As long as you pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you pay your mortgage or, whatever, you're good. And that's on Facebook, it's like renting. And you're renting your page, you're renting your group thing or whatever, and they can kick you out at any time. They can say, oh, you broke this terms of service, and Facebook is so hard to get a hold of, or Twitter or whoever. And sometimes you'll get your account back, sometimes you won't. But when you have your own email list, you have your own website, that is like owning your own property, your own assets. And so you have control of them. You have those. And I do recommend backing up your email list from whatever service provider you use.
On a regular basis.
Yes, on a regular basis, export those so you always have a backup of those just in case anything happens. But this is one of the most powerful things you can build, one of the most powerful assets you can build as an author and as a business owner. And on this podcast, we're specifically talking about how to go beyond the book and build a business. And this is one of the best ways to do that. So those people that already have lists or that are going to be setting up lists, what are some tips that you have, Kristen, for email marketing?
Well, you mentioned autoresponders earlier, and to put it simply, an autoresponder is in some systems like Aweber, GetResponse, and the paid MailChimp. You can, and also I think Constant Contact does this with one of their levels as well. You can set up emails that start going out automatically, hence auto respond. They respond to the people who sign up. And you can set, when they go out, how far in the distance they go out. So you can set them to go out every day, every week, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever. And it's set it and forget it. Once you write those emails and plug them into the system and attach them to the list, it's done. And people will start hearing from you, and they'll keep hearing from you until either they run out of messages that you've put in there or they unsubscribe. So it's a great way to start feeding your list information. And I recommend a 3-to-1 ratio. 3 is 3 autoresponder email messages that are educational. So something like a video that you did on YouTube, or a tip you put together, a blog post that you wrote, or an article that you wrote. Make sure everything's evergreen. It's not something that's going to go out of style or be outdated in a week or two. It needs to be something that's going to stick around for a while. A free resource that you found, which can be with your affiliate link, by the way. So I had one that was like, I've been using this resource for a long time, and many of you may not even know about it. It's called Dropbox. And I put my affiliate link in there to go get Dropbox. So, it's just simple tools and strategies and things that you've learned along the way, and stuff that's from your book that you can feed them 3 messages in a row like that. Then the 4th message, the 1 after the 3 is, hence 4, 3 plus 1 is 4, is the promotion. So that's selling them something. Every single email should tell them to do something. Should have a call to action in every email where you're telling them to do something. So either telling them to go to your blog and read your article, or telling them to listen to your video, watch your video, telling them to check out this resource that's free that you found, something like that. And then the 4th one is telling them to go buy something. So telling them to go, maybe buy your book would be a good thing to tell them to do. So, however long you want to do this, I've heard people set up autoresponders for a month, for 3 months, for 6 months, for a year. I used to have 52, one that went out every week for an entire year. And I had a 3-to-1 ratio on those. And it worked very, very well for me until I switched systems. So, that's it. It's just definitely, it's a proven formula, and it works. And that's really my biggest tip to you, is to start thinking about what things you can give them for free versus, how often you're going to send them something paid. And you don't have to remind them of your book every 4th message either. It can be some other product you've developed, or a service that you have, or coaching with you, or something like that.
Or affiliate offer, like you were mentioning.
Or an affiliate offer, exactly.
Yeah. And I have a certain system that I've used, and one of the things that I'll include is like an inspirational message. So, depending on what your audience is, when I send it out to authors, it's, might be something about, never giving up, or, whatever it is. And I'll tell a personal story, and I think that's really important in email marketing. That's one of my goals this next year, is to include more stories in my emails and to really personalize them even more. And when you do that, your list starts to know, like, and trust you, which is the basis of marketing. And you'll meet people at places, and they'll know things about you. And they'll say, hey, Kristen, how are the Legos going,
Absolutely.
Or Shelly, I remember, you telling that story about living in the RV. We want to live in an RV too. And, so they'll know things about you, and they'll feel like they know you, and it grows a trust. And so you want it to be personable. You want to tell stories, and like Kristen said, integrate different types of messages, but make them evergreen. In one of my lists, I think we have like 45 messages in there. But one of my tips is once a year at least to do an autoresponder audit. So for trainingauthors.com, Heather and I just recently did that. And we went through our autoresponders, and that's the one that has like 45 messages or whatever. And we looked at the open rates, we looked at the click-through rates. And what we're doing now is we're removing emails that are not performing well, and we're replacing them with other ones. So another tip that I have is when you send out broadcasts for resources or affiliate promotions or products or services, and you get a really good response for that particular recommendation or that particular product, and it really goes over well with your audience, that is an email to consider adding into your autoresponder sequence. And so with the autoresponder audit, then you can just go through and clean up your list, make it more effective, make it work even better for you. And when I have authors that are hesitant to purchase, email subscriber services, I say, think of it like hiring a VA. You're hiring someone that when you put in those autoresponders, it's going to work for you 24/7. It's like having an assistant doing the work for you, sending out those emails, and you're just paying a small amount for what the return on investment that you're getting, as long as you put those emails in there, and use your list and work to grow your list. Do you have any other tips to share on the email
creating
marketing
autoresponders
side of
to
things?
put into that 3-to-1 is definitely required. Something else is some systems like Aweber and GetResponse allow you to do what's called segment your list. So you can have one list that's everybody, and then you can have another list that's people from something specific. So let's say you were on a teleseminar and you gave out a free thing. You say, go to my website, blah, 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 / blah, 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 to get this free thing just for you. And then when they go to download that free thing, it's linked to a new list. So you know exactly where those people came from. I did this for a webinar that I ran just to experiment with it with a joint venture partner. And I taught the webinar, so I got the list. And I grew my list by 1,200 people that day with that one webinar. It was insane. And I was able to use that list more than just through GoToWebinar, which is a system I use for webinars. But I was able to import that list into my email system and use that list to market to them later, specific to those people who were from that list and that webinar. So I was able to send them the replay, the special offer, and I got a lot of good response off of that just by segmenting my list. So you can do the same thing. You can give away something for free and track where those people come from. Also, turn off your unsubscribes. Every email service will send you a message every time someone unsubscribes. And I used to be obsessed with that and take it very personally until I realized most people unsubscribe because they just plain get too much email or it's not relevant to them anyway. And especially with systems like Aweber where you have to pay for according to the number of people on your list. I don't want to be paying for people who don't want to be there. That's okay with me. So I turned off my unsubscribe so that I wouldn't be seeing them come through. And now I ignore it. If I log in and it says 2 subscribed today and 2 unsubscribed today, I'm like, okay, good. I didn't lose anybody. Or, 4 subscribed today and 6 unsubscribed. Okay, no big deal. Those were people who were sick of hearing from me, or they're on multiple lists because, again, you can segment so people might get the same thing more than once. So those are just a couple additional tips. Once you think about how you're going to grow your business side of things, you as an author are already in business. So as you grow your business side of things, think about how far do you want to grow and what kinds of things do you want to send out in the future. We'll take a little bit of dreaming. I don't like to call it planning. I like to call it dreaming because I'm not much of a planner. But dream about it. Think, if I could have anything in being able to contact people who know me, love me, trust me, and really want to buy my book, what would I send them? Who would I send it to? How many different kinds of people would I send it to, and what kinds of lists would I put them on?
Yeah, and I remember Nicole Dean mentioned like 4 different types of lists, and I've kept this in my mind, that you have your leads and prospects. Those are people who are downloading something free, coming to a free webinar, which, by the way, webinars and teleseminars are a great way to build your list. That's how I first got started in the author market. I held a free Facebook marketing webinar. And, so you have your leads, prospects, then Then you have your customers. So you have a list of people who have actually bought something from you and they're customers. Then you can have a list of affiliates. If you have an affiliate program, if you're selling products from your website, that's a separate list. And then Nicole called the fourth list your besties. So those are people that, you'll find them versus, in paid mastermind groups, live events.
Those are the people in my phone that I can text.
Yes. You're not actually going to have probably a list in your email subscriber system, but those are the people you contact on Skype, Facebook messaging, email, that sort of thing, texting, and those are your besties. So that's a great thing to think of, your 4 types of list. And my final tip before we close is, I was just doing a promotion this week, and one of the things I did was I took one of my emails that had already went out and I segmented it and got response for the ones that did not open that email. And I sent them a second email that had a different subject line. And so I was able to get the people that didn't open the first one to look at the second one without bugging those that already opened it. And that's a great tip when you're doing certain promotions and things and you want to follow up with those that didn't see your first message. And it did result in more sales for me. So we're closing up and wrapping up this session. Again, we could talk for hours on this. And I know that you have a specific program, Kristen, on email marketing. And where can people find out more about that if they want to learn more from you?
So this program is actually in development. It's part of my Authorpreneur Mastery program, and it's an Authorpreneur Mastery course. I'm developing many courses that are high-end, high-level, the advanced trainings for people who want to go beyond their book. And you can get to the entire program at booksbusinessandbeyond.com/authorpreneur. The link is in the resources area. And then watch for, as those courses are developed, I actually will have an entire course on list building for authorpreneurs, and this will be in there.
Great. And I just really encourage everyone listening, if you haven't done it yet, find one service to use, get started. And, we just shared in a recent episode about the power of forming a list for even your book reviewers. So that's something that you can go back and listen to that episode as well and integrate with this. But get started today. There's no better time to start building your list as today. So this is Shelly Hitz and Kristen Joy from Books, Business, and Beyond podcast. We are so thankful for each one of you. We'd appreciate your honest reviews on iTunes, and we really appreciate you subscribing and listening each week, and we will be back with you next week with another episode. Thanks, everyone.
You've been listening to Books, Business, and Beyond, the show that teaches you how to maximize your income from your book to create the lifestyle you want. Visit your host, international best-selling author Shelly Hitz, and her partner in success, Kristen, the Book Ninja Eckstein, at booksbusinessandbeyond.com and grab your free gift today. Tune in next time for more ways to diversify your income beyond the book, and don't miss a single episode. Subscribe to this podcast on iTunes.